Hello, welcome back to my channel with I'm with Joanne. I actually have another Friendly Geordies update for you. I know every day there seems to be another update, but a few things have happened and I've been looking around the traps a little bit, um, doing what I do. No, I don't. I just check a few places. So the first thing is there's an update on the court file. I get notified if there's an update. I can do that. I can't get hold of the documents at the moment, but this is the court file. So this actually states that Xenophon Davis has now become is now on record as legal representation. So they've gone in as the appointment. So they've gone on record as being the lawyer. So there was an administrative hearing on the 16th of June, and it was sort of like a directions hearing. And so what happens with this is that the judge sort of really outlines how he's going to accept submissions, and how to deal with people that want to view the case. So this was done on the 17th of June. Oral submissions may be done by way of video link, audio link, or other appropriate means by 47B Federal Code of Australia. So the judge, Justice Rares, has not ordered written submissions. So sometimes they like to have written submissions. Justice Rare has said that oral submissions can be accepted. Pursuant to 17.4 of the Act, to the extent that, and for so long as lawful restrictions or other public health considerations operate to limit or exclude members of the public from being able to attend court at the Law Court Building, Queen Square, Sydney, during the hearing of this proceeding, the sitting of the court continue notwithstanding the inability of members of the public to be present who have not applied to the registry to observe the hearing by video link or audio link while testimony and submissions are being given pursuant to. So that is saying that if there are restrictions, there will be a link available for people, and that you'll need to register with the court, which is fine. Unless the court otherwise orders, no person, including a member of the public, who is observing the hearing of the proceeding by accessing any audio or video link, including by link to the Microsoft Teams platform, make any audio, video, or photograph of the hearing or any part, or interrupt the hearing, provided that nothing in this order shall prevent any person, based on what he or she seen or heard, making notes of their proceedings or publishing a fair report of the proceeding. So it means you can't make any audio, you can't take a photograph, can't do any video, you can't interrupt, and you can't participate in the hearing. However, you can make notes based on what you see and hear, and you can publish a fair report of the proceeding. A contravention of Order 3 may constitute a contempt of court and be punishable by imprisonment, fine, or sequestration of property, dated the 17th of June. So that's what's coming. So it looks like it will be available by link. Now, there are some where I know for Christian Porter's case, because Sydney had restrictions, there was a public link that you could just click on and watch. But this one, looks like you're going to have to register with the court. So that will be done. So the Independent Australia, which is obviously Independent Rag, produced an article called "Fixing Fixations by Arresting Friendly Geordies Christo." They've got some serious questions, and he's got some serious questions here, and a few details which may provide context before we analyse the ramifications. So we need to put these details. So they say before we talk about this and look at the ramifications, we have to state these facts. Friendly Geordies is a YouTube channel created by comedian and political commentator Jordan Shanks that takes irrelevant and provocative approach to news and politics in the style of The Chaser. Friendly Geordies has featured a series of videos which send up Barello, Braz, and raise questions of alleged corruption. Braz has slapped both Friendly Geordies and YouTube with a defamation lawsuit. 21-year-old Lanka was taken from his family home, few hours after he had a brief interaction with the New South Wales Deputy Premier and was detained for 6 hours before being charged. And the Fixated Persons Unit was set up to combat acts of so-called lone wolf terrorism. So they go, okay, now let us contrast the above bizarre scenario with a few other events. For one thing, there's Andrew Leming. Always comes up whenever we talk about Friendly Geordies, we have to talk about Leming, who was recently accused of unseemly behaviour towards young females. Leming's alleged tool of choice was Facebook, but Facebook has not been sued for allowing proven harassment to occur on its platform. No counterterrorism teams were sent to detain Leming, who is still collecting his bloated federal MP's paycheck. Creepy, perving allegations notwithstanding, no ramifications of any kind for Leming, arguably apart from the dubious and now cliched empathy classes Morrison ordered him to take in. And of course, there's Whitney Higgins. When the art allegation went through Parliament House, not only was the Fixated Persons Unit or similar counter-terrorism outfit absent, but to date, no police arrest or even a report from the federal government's own internal investigation has materialised. The alleged offender has disappeared from public view. And then, of course, there's Christian Porter, and I keep talking about Christian Porter because I've followed this case. Former Attorney General Christian Porter, not only were there no special forces deployed, but the New South Wales Police did not even take a formal statement from the victim, apparently due to difficulties posed by COVID restrictions. Porter, however, took full paid stress leave and promptly sued the ABC and Four Corners journalist Louise Milligan. And so they're really stating that it's really setting a precedent. Journalists and political commentators being intimidated, though concerning, is now a commonplace occupational hazard, particularly for the national broadcaster and non-mainstream media organisations. So if you're not a mainstream media organisation or you're the public broadcaster, we will just sue you. But journalists and political commentators getting arrested and charged for doing their jobs is just plain persecution and tyranny on the Orwellian scale. Of course, there are previous examples of this bullying, such as the secret trial of Witness K, the AFP raids of ABC officers and rifling through of journalists Anika Semhurst's undie drawers, and the most disturbing arrest and incarceration of our time to date, the details of which that of Julian Assange. A producer of a satirical YouTube videos approaching an MPs hardly calls for deployment of special forces. Friendly Geordies lawyer Mark Davis described the arrest as outrageous and told Independent Australia that Mr. Lanka and his legal team are keen to see the CCTV footage. It's quite disturbing. Also, Mr. Davis also described the terms of Lanka's bail as extreme, as he's not permitted to be in possession of an image or caricature of Barilaro, or even as much comment on the appearance. Or guess what? I hope there's not an election coming up, because he wouldn't be able to possess any election material. The picture probably can't even pick up the paper with the name on it. So Independent Australia actually wrote to the New South Wales Police with some questions, very wise questions. It says, as the Fixated Persons Unit normally handles lone wolf terrorism, can you advise why an alleged stalking offence was followed up by this counter-terrorism unit rather than the usual police contingent for such matters? Can you comment on whether Deputy Premier John Barilaro or Police Commissioner Mick Fuller had any involvement in the decision for this matter to be handled by the Fixated Persons investigation units rather than the usual police personnel for such matters? Given the strenuous objections of the alleged offender and his employer and the mobile phone footage of the alleged offences, has any investigation into the veracity of Mr. Barilaro's claims been undertaken? Has CCTV footage from the alleged offence at Macquarie University been obtained by the police to substantiate Mr. Barilaro's claim? Why have such extreme special conditions been applied to Mr. Lanka's bail, as indicated by his lawyers, to those generally applied for stalking offences? So this was the response. The Fixated Persons Investigations Unit investigates fixated persons, which is defined as an individual who has an obsessive preoccupation pursued to an excessive or irrational degree with a public office holder or internationally protected person, other persons nominated by Commissioner of Police, or a cause influenced by an extreme ideology. A cause is an intensive personal and idiosyncratic grievance or a quest for justice. Further to the above and the statement provided yesterday, which provided information on the arrest, no further information is available. There's been no comment from Braz. So it looks like obsessive preoccupation. How? Yeah, I have questions. I have lots of questions. So it says the Fixated Persons Unit was created by New South Wales Police Commissioner Mick Fuller, a friend and neighbour of Prime Minister Scott Morrison, in the advance of the New South Wales coroner's report into the siege case. He said, referred to the danger from people who are obsessed about issues, ideals, or individuals, and are plotting acts of violence or capable of acts of terrorists. The idea of FriendlyJorides is running a terrorist group, and his video producer, Christo Lanka, is mentally ill and plotting acts of violence simply by asking questions and mildly mocking a deputy premier is so absurd it is beyond contemplation of a reasonable person. In short, it is a farce. I agree. The New South Wales unit comprises 17 detectives and government mental health workers, and it is based on similar units established previously in the UK and Queensland. So they wrote an article on that. It's interesting. The Chaser team was also arrested and charged following their infiltration of APEC Summit in 2007, during which one member was dressed as Osama bin Laden during the prank taking place at the height of the war on terror. And with the US President Bush in attendance, the charges were dropped. Lending its support to FriendlyJorides, the Chaser temporarily changed its Twitter account to the name Stalker this week. So the Commissioner has power under legislation to declare a person fixated. And that is scary. And it looks like that he's the neighbour of the Prime Minister, admits to a special relationship with the PM, including putting out his mate's garbage bins. He's also been in line for Craig Kelly's safe seat in the federal Liberal seat of Hughes. We are keen for Mr. Lanka's case to be resolved before a court rather than bantering with the Fixated unit or any other politician. So they're going, let's go to court. Let the court deal with it. So this is some of the stuff here. It's like unbelievable abuse of power. Can't a statement on historical alleged R or arrest of Higgins alleged R. But if FriendlyJorides comedian approaches an MP, he's charged with stalking. That's probably an amazing one there. The other thing is the brag actually has people are rallying behind FriendlyJorides, and this is what we're doing. So there's lots of stories, particularly on the Independent. And then this is just a bit of a transcript about what he was saying. Among those throwing support behind Shakes include New South Wales State MP Helen Dalton, who's called on the state's police watchdog to investigate the arrest. Women in New South Wales have suffered domestic violence, stalking, intimidation. Will tell you how difficult it is to get their perpetrator charged and arrested, Dalton said. So that's the Twitter, which we looked at. And then she talks about, among others who have called out Barilaro in New South Wales Police, the Chaser comedian Isaac Butterfield and Australian journalist John Pilger. Dan Andrews is a dictator, says political party sending anti-terror teams to arrest YouTubers. One of Australia's one and only fearless political satirist is Jordan Shanks, whose YouTube show brilliantly upsets a compliant society's low-grade politicians. An anti-terror goon squad was sent in to arrest this producer for stalking. Really? Watch this. The Twitterverse is also full of heated criticism over the arrest, with one user writing, "Protect and serve the politicians, not the publics or journalists doing their jobs." Another wrote in defense of Shanks, people might not like the way Friendly Geordie does journalism, but the principle of being able to question those in power for their political decisions is important one in democracy. I hope to see all journalists standing up for their right to do so without being arrested. This one, Aussies, Russia is so oppressed. I can't believe they let Navalny go to jail. Also, Aussies, totally cool with senior politicians like Barilaro suing Friendly Geordies and lying to police in order to get his staff arrested by an undercover terrorist. So that's that one. Michael Tanner. There's a bit of irony in John Barilaro suing Friendly Geordies for painting him as a mafia don scarcely weeks before FJ's team member is arrested for criticising Barilaro. That's quite interesting, isn't it? This is the Daily Mail. Is produced. So we're getting, and they talk about some of the stuff that he's been called, what he called him. So these are photos. I still don't know whether they are. I mean, we don't know whether the office tripped over or not. We don't know. He claims the state deputy. In the YouTube video, Mr. Shanks also hid out a defamation case brought to him by Mr. Barilaro. He claimed that the state's deputy premier had impulsively, maliciously escalated the situation at any term. In all honesty, every move I have made, no matter how ridiculous it appeared, has been both legal and considered, he said. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of the deputy premier. I tell you what, the video that he did of secret dictatorship is looking to be true, isn't it? He released a statement that said he was not as rich as Mr. Barilaro and didn't have a lawyer, but the suit could have terrible implications for free speech in this country. The very fact that John filed it proves he doesn't care about his constituency, as he's too busy in court to do his job. He said he'd be using a truth defense and has a lot of people to subpoena. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. He has a lot of people to subpoena. And truth, that's the defense that's gonna Barilaro, and he's probably doing to try and stop the truth. So anyway, the other interesting thing is this is Michael West Media. So this is Callum Foote from Michael West Media, who is an independent. I know he does a lot of stuff with Jordan Shanks. So he talks about Dan Andrews is okay as dictator Dan, but John Barilaro as Benito Mussolini apparently is not. So Google and Facebook moved to remove parody images of the deputy premier. 2SM host Marcus Paul has also come under pressure. So this is talking about the removal of the Facebook page. And the standards on dangerous individuals, organisations with dangerous organisations is defined as those that engaged in terrorist activity, organised hate or violence, mass or serial murder, human trafficking, criminal or harmful behaviour. The taking down of the page comes after it was revealed that Friendly Geordie's producer, Chris Stolanka, was arrested. The video detailing the arrest was released on YouTube. It was briefly delisted by Google, which meant it was not searchable on YouTube or Google, nor was it visible in the channel's subscriber feeds. What on earth? A Facebook spokesperson told Michael West Media that the group was removed from Facebook as the admins repeatedly approved posts that violate community standards. This apparently was the picture in question. But there's ones of Dan Andrews. If you just put Andrews' face, it's the same picture, but with a different face. Admins of the page remained steadfast that posters were obvious satire and not hate speech. Joseph Morrison, a moderator of the page, likens the image to depictions of Dan Andrews as communist leaders, including Kim Jong-un, a point readily made on Sky News and Murdoch papers. Moreover, Facebook's own community standards requires images to be praising or supporting the hate group, in this case Nazis and Italian fascists, which the moderators of the pages strongly deny. The same image of Bellaro as Mussolini was posted to Marcus Paul's Facebook page. Paul's page ran afoul of hate speech laws in Facebook's community standards. 2SM also received a legal notice from Ballaro's lawyers demanding the image be taken down and all mention of Bellaro be stripped from its page. What? No way. So it said, due to legal reasons, our content on the Deputy Premier of New South Wales has had to be removed. Consequently, we will not be commenting further on this platform or on air about the matters now before the courts. So we've also, Labor MP Sonia Hornery has also spoken out about the arrest, writing that the use of the state's counter-terrorism units to arrest friendly-Geordies is unprecedented and outrageous. Other state MPs have spoken out, including Greens MP David Shoebridge and Independent Justin Fields. So this is Callum Foot. Now his Twitter page has actually comes up with a warning as well, which is really quite scary. When I checked it this morning. So what do you reckon? Tell me what you think. This is quite scary stuff, in my opinion. At what point in time are we saying that you can't do certain things? Why is it okay? And I'm going to keep talking about why is it still okay to call Dan Andrews Dictator Dan, but we can't say anything bad about the Bros. Can't say anything about Bros. Oh no, Bros is a protected person. Bros is a protected person. You know, seriously. I mean, he's a deputy premier, first of all. Danny's a premier. But tell me, what is the difference? What are you making of all this? So I'm going to keep up with all the stuff that keeps going on as the reporting, but it's starting to get taken down from mainstream media. I also understand that my videos may jump out of the analytics because of this content too, and that's fine. I'll just keep talking about it. So we've got that if there can't be any, so we know that the court has said that if there are restrictions in place, there will be a video link for it, that no one will be able to post any pictures, video it, or take any audio from it. So that's a positive. We know some dates there. So tell me, what do you think about all of those revelations? It seems like the independent media is picking up everything, but it also looks like that they're trying to silence independent media. Are people going to be, are they going to be able to keep up the cause, or are they going to also be silenced? And is it up to YouTube creators to keep it going? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd be really, really interested. Thanks for joining me. Bye.